Hello everyone, my name is Anthea Pereira and I shall now start with my Trinity Grade 7 speech and drama. I will first be starting off with my task 1, which is a poem, The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. There once was a tree who loved this little boy. And every day the boy would come and he would gather her leaves and turn them into crowns and play king of the forest. He would climb up her trunk and swing from her branches and play in her shade. And they would play hide and go seek. And when he was tired, he would sleep in her shade. And the boy loved the tree very much, and the tree was happy. But as time went by, the boy grew older and the tree often felt alone. Then one day the boy came to the tree and the tree said, "Come, boy, come, climb up my trunk and swing from my branches and play in my shade and be happy." "I'm too big to climb and play," said the boy. "I want to buy things and have fun. I want some money. Can you give me some money?" "I have no money," said the tree. "All I have is leaves and apples." "Take my apples, boy, and sell them in the city. This way you'll have some money and you'll be happy." So the boy climbed up the tree, carried the apples, and gathered them away. And the tree was happy. But again, the boy stayed away for a very long time. And when he came back, the tree was so happy she shook with joy. "Come, boy, come! Climb up my trunk and swing from my branches and play in my shade and be happy." "I'm too busy to climb and play," said the boy. "I want a house to keep me warm." He said, "I want a wife and I want children, and so I need a house. Can you give me a house?" "I have no house," said the tree. "The forest is my home, but you may cut off my branches and build a house, and then you'll be happy." So the boy cut off her trunk, branches, and built his house, and the tree was happy. But again, the boy stayed away for a very long time, and when he came back, the tree was so happy she could hardly speak. "Come, boy," she whispered. "Come and play." "I'm too old and sad to play," said the boy. "I want a boat so that I can sail away, far away from here. Can you give me a boat?" "Cut down my trunk and build a boat. Then you can sail away and you'll be happy." So the boy cut down her trunk and built his boat and sailed away. And the tree was happy. Not really. And then again, the boy stayed away for a very long time. And when he came back, I'm sorry," said the tree, "but I have nothing left to give you. My apples are gone." "My teeth are too weak for apples," said the boy. "My branches are gone. You cannot swing on them." "I'm too old to swing on them," said the boy. "My trunk is gone. You cannot climb." "I'm too tired to climb," said the boy. "I'm sorry," sighed the tree. I wish that I could give you something, but I have nothing left. I'm just an old stump. I'm sorry." "Well, I don't need very much right now. Just a nice and quiet place to sit and to rest." Well, the tree said, straightening herself as much as she could. Well, an old stump is always good for sitting and resting. So come, boy, sit down and rest. And the boy did, and the tree was happy. Thank you. I shall now move on to my task two, which is her speech, the Greta Thunberg speech at the UN National Climate Action Summit. This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet, you all come to us, young people, for hope? How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words. And yet, I'm one of the lucky ones. People are dying, people are collapsing, entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extension, and all you can see and to think about is money and politics of eternal economic growth. How dare you? For more than 30 years, the science has been crystal clear. How dare you continue to look away and come here saying that you're doing enough when the politics or solutions needed are still nowhere in sight? You say that you hear us and that you understand the urgency of the situation. But no matter how sad or angry I am, I do not want to believe that. Because if you really understood the situation and kept on failing to act, then you would be evil, and I refuse to believe. The popular idea of cutting down our emissions in half in 10 years only gives us a 50% chance of staying below 1.5 degrees Celsius, and the risk of setting off irreversible chain reactions beyond human control. A 50% risk may be acceptable to you, but these numbers do not include tipping points, most feedback loops, additional warming hidden by toxic air pollution, and the aspects of equity and climate justice. They also rely on my generation sucking hundreds of billions of tons of your CO2 out of the air with technologies that barely exist. So, a 50% risk is simply not acceptable to us. We who have to live with the consequences. To have a 67% chance of staying below 1.5 degrees global temperature rise, the best odds given by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. The world had 420 gigatons of CO2 left to emit on Jan 1st, 2018. Today, that figure is already down to less than 350 gigatons. How dare you continue to come here saying that this can be solved with just business as usual? Looking at today's emissions levels, our remaining CO2 budget will be entirely gone in less than 8.5 years. We will have no plans or no figures in line with these numbers because these numbers are too uncomfortable, and you are not mature enough to tell it like it is. You are failing us, but the young people are starting to understand your betrayal. The eyes of all future generations are upon you, and if you choose to fail us, I say, we will never forgive you. We will never let you get away with this. The world is waking up and change is coming, whether you like it or not. Thank you. I shall now move on to my task 3, which is a monologue prose, um, Plastic Figurines by Ella Carmen Greenhill. Uh, sometimes I was 9 when they first told me, nearly 9. Mom and dad didn't really say much in front of me. Mom told me that there was something in his brain that was different. Mom and dad didn't really say much in front of me. But when I think about it now, maybe they didn't say anything to each other at all. When I was small, I used to wake up in the night, probably about 10 o'clock, because I could hear them laughing. I'd never cry, because it was nice, It was nice to hear mom and dad laughing together. Mom told me that he was different from the other kids. She said that he liked to put his toys in line and something that was, a symptom or whatever. And I used to go into his room and see all his stuffed animals in line, and I'd mess them up. I'd mess the line up. Like, that would make him. After they told us that there was something wrong, the house got dead quiet. They didn't laugh. He couldn't handle it. Dad couldn't handle it. The embarrassment, I think, idiot. She was a really good mom. People would look. You know how people look at kids when they misbehave? When you know there's something wrong, different, they'd look at him like, huh, he can't help it. That look of pity. And I'd smile. I'd smile at them. That smile where you tilt your head as if you're on the same page as them. I'd smile that awkward smile. I learned that awkward, apologetic smile by the time I was 10. I was ashamed, embarrassed of him. When I was 10, I love him. I love him so much. But sometimes I. Thank you. I shall now move on to my expressive reading, task 4. To the Little Girl in the Village Home I Never Met by Jennifer Wong. I've never been proud of you. Your bottled up self and your penny saving habits. Time and again, you discouraged me, saying, would you stop dreaming? Only the rich could afford a hobby. Van Gogh was never famous until he died. I forgot the girl you were once, who sat all day in a dim village home, faded wallpaper, a dial knob TV, a tarpaulin bed on the veranda, thinking, today I'm going to die, but no one is even watching because your mother had a long way to walk back uphill at the pace of bound feet. Your father existed in your imagination across green hills, and your ears still echoed with his instructions. Just call HSVC if you ever need money, and they will give you plenty. How on earth your mother escaped from Shandong to Kowloon and survived. I couldn't imagine the day I stood in a gown at the Sheldonian, listened to all that Latin I couldn't shrug off. This girl I never met, who never finished the village primary and used to stare at the sea all day, dreaming of Australia. Thank you. I shall now move on to my text analysis of the expressive reading passage. How can reading of the poem allow elements such as rhythm, rhyme, meter, period, pace, and context underpin the performance without overwhelming it? I think the the expressive reading, The Girl I Never Met by Jennifer Wong, I think the rhythm and meter do not follow a particular rhythm or pattern. It more flows just like the natural and how the speaker is kind of remembering her memories. Additionally, I think you should use a very conversational tone to kind of reflect on her memories. Um, because there are less of rhyming words in this passage, emphasis on rhyming words would not be very ideal because this would sound very unnatural and very distracting and forced. Instead, using gentle pauses wherever the emotions are a little bit more deeper, you could use more gentle pauses in areas where I've never been proud of you to kind of let that kind of emotion and feeling to kind of settle in. Um, Additionally, the poem's modern and context calls for a very soft and controlled voice, allowing the emotion to kind of shape the performance without overwhelming the performance meaning in any way. Thank you. I shall now move on to question 2. What technical challenges did you face while performing different parts of the poem? Firstly, while performing the poem, one thing I fo- like one difficulty I faced was in when was like my breathing and control over my breathing, because in parts of the poem there's a line where I forgot the girl you were once, who sat all day in a dim village home, a dial knob TV, a tarpaulin bed. I In this area there are like a lot of different ideas and a lot of different sentences that come in together, so I really had to work on my breathing and my control over these sentences. Over time I progressed. Another challenge which I almost always face is change of emotions. As the poem starts, it starts off with a feeling of disappointment in the lines, I've never been proud of you. But as the poem kind of progresses, it comes to the line, I forgot the girl you were once. So it kind of progresses, and normally I like faced a lot of challenges with the emotion changing, as it starts with a disappointment kind of emotion with the feeling of happiness. So I really worked a lot with my emotion shift. I also researched a lot on Jennifer Wong, who is the author of this poem. I researched about her and kind of understood more about her meaning behind the poem, and only then I was able to actually put in my emotions properly. So that, um, moreover, another challenge I faced was the pronunciation of some words which I weren't really familiar with, such as Shandong, Kowloon, and Sheldonian. So for this, I used Google Translate a lot to kind of learn the proper pronunciation of these words to help me perform it more effectively. Um, in conclusion, the difficulties I faced were the emotion shift, the control over my breathing in sentences that had a lot of ideas put in, and the pronunciation of unfamiliar words. Thank you. I shall now move on to my task 5, which is reflection. Question 1. Describe the context of one of your pieces. Um, the Giving Tree. It starts to it's basically a story about the relationship between a boy and the tree. But as the boy grows older, it kind of shows how the tree sacrifices everything without a second thought for the boy, giving him everything he wants without um talking about it. She gives him everything, she's like selflessly loving him. She doesn't care about herself. She's only thinking about him, and she gives him everything even though he does not come back quite often. So it kind of shows the love that the tree has for the boy. Overall, it kind of shows how important it is to be grateful and to appreciate everyone around us, because it shows that the tree does so much for the boy. Until the end, the boy does not really realize it, but in the end, he does. So it just shows us that be nice, be appreciative, be grateful to everyone around you, especially family and friends. Um, Here. Question 2. How did you connect to one of your character's emotional journey through your performance? I will be taking the Jennifer Wong expressive reading. Um, First, I searched up a lot about this particular author because I wanted to know more about her. Because first, when I read the poem, I did not understand it at all. Like, I didn't understand it because it didn't really make sense to me. But as I researched more and learned about her real meaning behind the poem, I kind of connected it with her emotionally. In the words where she says, "I've never been proud of you." I said that like a lot of times to get that feeling of emotion to kind of sink into me and to kind of help me perform it effectively. I learned what her life was about, what indicated her to write this poem so beautifully. And yes, this is how I connected through one of my uh, um, character's emotional journey through my performance. Third, describe and demonstrate the vocal and physical challenges you have been working on in rehearsal, including resonance and articulation in relation to one of your pieces. um, I will say the speech. In the speech, I think the speech we have to be, confident. You have to sound like a leader, which is quite hard for me because I don't feel like I'm that bold in talking. So I had a lot of physical, vocal challenges as well. When to emphasize on words and when to not. One thing that I also used was the power pose, which I use for a lot of my speech. Um, the hand gestures, of course. I, did a lot of different hand gestures and a lot of actions to see which one kind of fitted in well with the speech. I tried to sound more confident, more like a leader to kind of show that I was upset with what was happening, and I just wanted to show Greta Thunberg's anger in the speech that I was performing. Yeah. Question 4. What choices did you explore in relation to your interception of your pieces? Interpretation of your pieces. Um, I think I kind of experimented with a lot of hand gestures, especially for the Giving Tree, because it's a poem that has a lot of hand gestures, has a lot of situations in it. I use a lot of hand gestures. I thought about a lot of vocal modulations, how to shift my tone, a lots of different vocal connected decisions. At first, I was just reading the poem as it is. I did not really show a lot of emotion. But as I, just kept rehearsing, I think I did a good job, and I really let my hand gestures kind of show what the poem was showing. I used a lot of pauses to kind of emphasize on some areas where I thought would be helpful in performing the um, poem. Secondly, for the speech, I did with a lot of like power poses, as I said before, and a lot of tone change because like it's a speech, right? So your voice can't be high all the time, which is quite a challenge for me. Actually, I'm really bad at voice modulating my voice and kind of shifting tones wherever possible. So I really worked a lot, very hard on this. I said this speech a lot of times. I also saw a video of how she was saying it, which kind of helped me in some ways to show my anger and to show the anger she was trying to express in the speech that I was doing. Yes. Moreover, in my expressive reading, I really researched about the reader, as said before, to learn her uh, meaning between the lines, what she wanted to indicate with the poem she was trying to make. With that, I actually connected a lot with her to kind of understand what she was going through. That helped me to feel her little emotions and feel the emotion while I was saying it, because in reality when I first read it I did not understand anything. None of the emotions hit me. Like, I didn't understand. I kept saying it thrice actually to kind of understand, but I still couldn't, because I didn't know who she was. I didn't know her motive behind the poem, so I was just all clueless. So researching about her was what I think was really helpful for me, because I understood her real meaning between what she wanted to kind of say. Yeah, that's the end to my um, Trinity Grade 7 speech and drama exam with all task 5 covered. Thank you so much. Have a great day.